I found the entire item fully insurmountable while I at first begun. Kate Shuey Smith is excellently frank on which it was love to discover herself work in Downing Road Elderly Fair 22. Help reply David Mr. Cameron's communication and organize receptions for MPs at Downing Road were amongst her date-to-date tasks while she at first excited to number 10 of Prudent Centre office space in deceased 2010. Time frequently the youngest man in the chamber, she was affected by the quantity of some 20-somethings amongst the round of human beings work for the main secretary in the previous days of his premiership. Where was a mandrel team of 25 to 35-year-olds, she says, lot of whom, love her, had been encouraged to get implicated by the Tory leader's modernisation of the side and his successful in the 2010 poll. Time Westminster is frequently caricatured as a location out of concern in the lives of youthful human beings and apathetic to his concerns, where are rather a few human beings who include treated not fair in the lobby of force but really shut to the center of force at a amazingly youthful year. And they are not fair carrier political community love Mr. Cameron, who dashingly treated as a specific advisor to Chancellor Norman Lamont in his previous 20s. Matt Zarb cousin was plucked of family member anonymity at the age of 27 to be Jeremy Corbyn's representative in the springtime of 2016. Upstart the job he was alerted how anything could get ready him for the problem front, one of his associate likening it to training to ski leap. The consultation was audio. The side quickly became involved in a virtual civilian warfare, in part the dark office resigning in the area of a few days in outcry at Jeremy Corbyn's productivity for the Brexit plebiscite. They would abandon, go on speak and later short a adverse history on the management, he recalls. To the at first few months it was a christening of flame, hard to conduct my thumb in the weir. At 27, I was fielding among 80 and 100 telephone call and texts a day of each click and speak reporter in the nation for the lead of the opposition. Anything can get ready you for it but the expertise prepares you for whatever. Training on the job is not extraordinary but making it in the blood pressure pan of Westminster policy, especially one characterized for the EU plebiscite by its excess variability and adherence, is else generally. Michael Loder was as well 27 while he became Nigel Farage's representative in 2016. Though he was already a term of the UKIP leads internal round, he admits he was very youthful to get the work. In any go of lifetime, if you are youthful later, where are departure to be human beings who complain about, he says. My relation has ever been quite rather than bastard and complain about, get on in it thou include to be sure and energetic and choose up real on the path. Nigel would not include taking into account me the job if he did not believe I was up to he. Though the UKIP lead was unskilled brush in the print and was seldom off TV screening for the plebiscite campaigning, though Michael Loder was amazed at the steep demands on his period. Nigel Farage is such a car, he says in delight. Which was really essential was filter out which he should and really do, since where was too lot to make. Kate Shuey Smith skilled the top and lows of policy for her 5-year work in Downing Road, in that she detained a kind of roles consisting as a term of the operative crew by head of personnel Ed Llewellyn and as specific advisor to Samantha Mr. Cameron. One of the highs was creature portion of a little team who crisscrossed the UK drawing David Mr. Cameron's route for the 2015 poll campaigning, a fully unglamorous but really breathtaking expertise. We consumable 2 months travelling the nation in a Volkswagen Charan, conducting the nights in prime inns, installation up visits for the main secretary, chancellor and Samantha Mr. Cameron in factories, schools and anywhere in among. Though she wasn't in the PM while how renowned output survey show a Tory most omitted, she was possessing lunch in her man-to-be as I had not seen him for 3 months, she recalls the mix of anxiety and emotion within number 10 as if it was just day yesterday. Quick striker on a year and her tension could not include been more than various as it dawned on her and her associate how the UK had elect for Brexit. How was a very destructive overnight, she says. I walked behind of the calculate to number 10 at 4 persons in the night, where were a team of us who were said by Ed Llewellyn how David Mr. Cameron was written his retire speaking in his office space. Permanent in the road observer him supply it, in all I had treated so close in above 5 year, was horrible. She had treated for the Britain much stronger in Europe campaigning and her household were devoted stay supporters, it was not fair a vocational fail. It thick felt love a really private one as so. During a pair of months she and largest of her associate were taking into account just a pair of several hours to precise his reel out of number 10 while Theresa May succeeded David Mr. Cameron as PM time the sentence if thou re nice quite, thou re youthful quite surely applies in policy. Eyewitness the increasing quantity of MPs in his 20s. It is as well maybe yet the instance how junior advisers include to job maybe how slight bit stronger to profit the honor of his associate. It was a cliff training trace, says Matt Zarb cousin, who was by Mr. Corbyn's party for on a year up outgoing to job for the campaigning for fairer gamble. I utilized to get to Friday and be completely depleted. But as period went by, he says he obtained the confidence of the hall journalists and was superior capable to murder stories how were not real. He remembers Creature contacted by a yellow paper in November 2016 time on his way to a Pong competition at the O2, request on an extraordinary history offering the Labour lead had been dancing at the Cenotaph on Memory Saturday. I was capable to refute how, get the history undertaken downward and later delight the Pong for a pair of several hours up the following history came on. Now work for the social relations business Weber Shandwick. Kate Shuey Smith says her consultation to such acute on a backroom carrier in policy is to be a crew gamer and to trust in who you are work to. Her Downing Road year, she says, were a odd top-low mix, range of filling Yuletide cards and organization high-vis and difficult hats for visits to show Michelle Obama about Downing Road, and hard to supervise office ministers and industry delegations on world trading trips. Thou include to be readily to manure in the cigarette lighter material to promote to the more than breathtaking job. The allocate for Michael Loder, who now planned for the Westminster website, was while the UK elect to keep the EU. Such watching the length of how dizzy overnight will see him permanent near his lug for his triumph when speaking and stamping the air in pleasure. It was one of the largest historical moments in contemporary UK policy, he says. Where I was in my 20s near who I grew up ecstatic, who was one of my heroes and who I had the benefit to job in and get to aware. If my period in policy ended present, it is thing I would see behind on in honor and be capable to speak the grandchildren on.